By the time that you are watching this video, ladies and gentlemen, the NFL draft will be 10 or less days out. So I figured it would be a good time to give my underrated prospects for the NFL draft. So the way that I categorize underrated in terms of, a draft prospect would be someone that I've studied that looks fantastic on film, that, has qualities that NFL teams are looking for, has those translatable intangibles, that's just not getting enough love throughout the draft process, or maybe isn't as highly touted as some of these other prospects. So the way that I did this today is we are going to go position by position. I've chosen one player per position. So if you guys are wondering, on the offensive side, I've gone quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive tackle, guard, and center. And then on the defensive side, edge, defensive tackle, linebacker, cornerback, safety. So the only two positions we didn't do are kicker and punter. So, if you want a separate video on that, I don't know if it garners some interest, then sure, why not? But we're going to dive right into it right now. So we're going to start with the quarterback. Basically, the way that I just listed it is the way that we're going to go into it here. So we're going to start with the quarterback. And right away, quarterback that I think just isn't getting enough love throughout the draft process. This is Carter Bradley out of South Alabama, 6'3", 216 pounds, an absolute cannon of a right arm, someone that doesn't run a lot, but is super mobile and is more than comfortable with getting out of the pocket, making plays outside the construct of the structure as well. I mean, really, the only thing that kind of puts some people off, I guess, would be the fact that he didn't really produce until he went into South Alabama as a little bit more wide open offense. The first 2 years of his collegiate career, he spent at Toledo. So once he made the switch to South Alabama, he really, took that next step and he really let the ball fly. He loves to throw the ball deep, has no problem throwing the ball deep as well. This is someone that I think could be honestly in play for a late day 2 selection, early day 3 for a team that needs a developmental quarterback. The top, we often say that this quarterback class is one of the best potentially that we've ever seen. And that may be true, but really outside of, I guess I would say the top 7 being Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, and Spencer Rattler. It really kind of goes thin after that. A lot of people are intrigued with Joe Milton, guys like that, Austin Reed. But I think that Carter Bradley's actually the best out of all those guys, potentially as a developmental piece down the line. If you guys watched my top 10 quarterbacks for the 2024 NFL draft, I believe I had him at number 8. So this is someone that I really do think will garner a lot of interest come draft time. Like I said, he's got the NFL ready size, cannon of an arm, good decision making for the most part. A knock on him is his accuracy but sometimes really does let him down a little bit, especially in this short to intermediate. And you guys know, if you want to be a quarterback in the NFL, you have to excel in the short to intermediate. So this is someone that I could see like the New York Jets or the Pittsburgh Steelers, someone taking a chance on in that, early 4th round, maybe even late 3rd round, as someone that could sit behind a starter and develop. I mean, I would personally love, as a Jets fan, I would love to have Carter Bradley sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a year, maybe 2, who knows how long he wants to play, and, learn. So Bradley is my quarterback that I think is just a little underrated. We're going to go to running back here, and I got Jaylen Wright as the running back. So what is interesting to me about this running back group is it doesn't seem like anyone you talk to, I feel like if you talk to 10 people, you'll get 10 different answers of your top 3 running backs in the entire class. So I think Jaylen Wright has the ability and the opportunity to be the best of the bunch right away and for the long term. I mean, he's got a tremendous frame, 5'11", 210 pounds. He runs a 4.38. He's got that incredible speed, incredibly elusive in the open field as well. This is someone that's got that home run speed, and he could be a true 3-down back in a group this year. I think personally, people are sleeping on the running back class. I don't think it's filled with superstars, but I think it's filled with players that can be starters for a long period of time in the NFL. I guess a long period of time for a starting running back is like 4 or 5 years the way that they go now. Their shelf life is rather short. But Jaylen Wright is someone that I really, really like as a potential 3 down back. I think his best fit, I would love to see him in Cincinnati. I know that they have Zach Moss, they have Chase Brown, but imagine someone, you're getting kind of the best of both worlds with Jaylen Wright out of that. So I think that this is someone that could separate himself pretty much right away in terms of being a plus starter early on in his career, and then someone that could ascend to potentially a Pro Bowl level in the right offense. But, looking at fits, I could easily see, I feel like, at least in terms of average mock draft placement for Jaylen Wright, I feel like he's sitting in that. I feel like he's sitting in that early round 4 category, and I feel like he's way better than that. I know running back is a position that's been depreciating as the years go on in terms of, average draft position for the most part. But this is someone that I could easily see being, an early 3rd round prospect, maybe even the late 2nd, depending on the needs of the teams at the end of the 2nd round that don't draft again until the end of the 3rd round. That might be a player that you see go late 2nd round. I do like the Cincinnati Bengals as a fit. I love the New York Giants as a fit as well. I'm a true 3 down running back. I think he's going to be great at the next level. So we go to wide receiver here. Wow, this is a little blurry. I'm sorry about that. This picture of Jaylen McMillan is a little blurry. Yeah, McMillan is my wide receiver. The reason being, this wide receiver class is so incredibly deep, and there's so many different ways that you can go. I took McMillan purely off the reason being that the year before, 2023, he had, I believe it was like 79 catches for 1,053 yards and like 8 or 9 touchdowns, something like that. I don't remember the numbers purely off the top of my head. But McMillan was someone that was poised to be that tremendous breakout star in Washington's offense, in my opinion, next to Rome Odunze, of course. But Jalen Polk kind of took the reins of that as being that true wide receiver 2 in that offense. Well, McMillan did play in 11 games last year. I believe he had less than 500 receiving yards, but he was injured for most of the year. Even when he was playing, he was rather limited. So this is someone that I feel like kind of got pushed down the board. There's a couple draft guys that I watched early on in the draft process that had Jalen McMillan as high as a top 10 pick. And I'm not kidding when I say that. Me personally, I didn't have him there. I believe I did have him at the end of the 1st round in one of my way too early mock drafts. But this is someone that has tremendous size for where he's probably going to play in the NFL. He's probably going to be a slot receiver, 6 foot, 197 pounds. He's got a great frame, long arms as well, good speed, 4.47 speed, someone that has a tremendous release package, and he's someone that if you can get him in motion pre-snap, he's going to be a real problem for defenses to handle. He's super shifty in the open field. He's very quick at the top of his routes. He's got good sync in his hips as well. This is someone that I think is I wouldn't call him a route running technician per se, but he's very pristine in his routes and he's very believable. That's a big thing. Transitioning from college football to the NFL, when you're playing much bigger, stronger, faster, smarter players at the NFL level, you need to have that believability in your routes because, listen, tape is available to look. I don't have any ties to the NFL, and tape is available to a schmuck like me. So you can imagine the level of research and tape that these guys have at their possession. They're going to see that right away. Oh, there's no believability, and they're going to clamp this guy up. But McMillan is someone that's super advanced in his route running ability and someone that's been rather slept on. I could easily see him as a 3rd-round pick. I would love, I'm going to keep bringing it up because the Jets do need a couple players here and there. I would love to see him in New York. Both ways, the Giants, the Jets. I believe I had him. I believe in my 3-round or my 7-round mock draft, I believe I had him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's another team that I could see really benefiting from, McMillan's skill set. There's a ton of teams in that middle range. And I feel like really a few of the best slot receivers in the NFL draft this year. Another one that I think is slept on, who could be a day 2 pick too, is Malik Washington, of course. But Jaylen McMillan, for me, with that size, speed, route running combination, I feel like he's going to be an immediate impact starter at the next level right away. And then going over to the tight end position here, I have Jared Wiley out of TCU. Now, the tight end position is sort of similar to the running back position to me, except a little bit worse. And there's also a clear cut number one, that being Brock Bowers from the tight end position. But Jared Wiley is someone that I could easily see being tight end two or tight end three. A lot of people have Ben Sinnott as tight end two. I kind of flip flop between Jared Wiley and Sinnott as well. But I mean, he just has, to me, I think he has the best translatable skill set overall. He's a well rounded player, 6'6, 250 pounds, 4.62 speed, 37-inch vertical leap. This guy is just unbelievable. And the best part about him is you think about him, you hear all those numbers, you hear, oh, wow, he's going to be a great target up the seam in the middle of the defense. What is he like as a blocker? I honestly think Jared Wiley's strongest suit is his blocking ability. This is someone that I could easily see. The San Francisco 49ers do have a ton of needs, but they do love their tight ends, and they love tight ends that could block. Charlie Warner left. He went to Atlanta. I could easily see this being the tight end behind George Kittle. And, that's another thing, too. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility to see a tight end being selected to a team that already has a star tight end. We saw it a couple years ago. Isaiah Likely was selected, I believe, in the third round. They had Mark Andrews. Last year, the Bills had Dawson Knox. They drafted Dalton Kincaid in the first round. We're seeing this a little bit more with some of these positions that aren't quite valued as much. The running backs being another one where you're seeing 2 and 3-headed monsters in the NFL. Same thing with the tight end position. It seems like they're transitioning to, well, instead of having one really great tight end, we're going to see how many tight ends we could attack. 12 personnel has been at an all-time scary, because now instead of having maybe two inline blockers, one guy go out, you got two guys that could potentially leave the formation. So it's insane what these teams could do with these incredibly athletic tight ends. But Wiley is someone that is, to me, the most well-rounded tight end in the entire draft class. I know that's crazy to say when you have Brock Bowers, when you have Ben Sinnott as well. Tip Ryman even is someone way down the board that I was actually considering. But I've done pretty extensive research, and I've talked about Tip Ryman quite a bit on this channel. I didn't show Jared Wiley enough love, so I figured this would be the perfect opportunity. He reminds me of like a last year Sam Laporta, where he kind of sort of goes under the radar. He might be selected a little bit higher than people would initially think, and then he gets in the NFL and he absolutely kills it. So, Wiley is going to be my guy to watch here at the tight end position. So moving over to the tackle position, I mean, there are just so many top premium positions that have just such deep classes this year. We talked about it with the wide receiver position. I feel like the offensive tackle position is another one of those positions that you could just kind of name a bunch of people and they would all fit this category. Kaden Wallace out of Penn State is someone that I think fits this bill really, really well. Everyone loves to talk about Olu Fashanu and how awesome of a prospect he is. Very, very true. And we're seeing this. You're realizing a trend here. We're seeing this a lot this year. Penn State, Olu Fashanu on the left side. And you have Kaden Wallace on the right, who is a great prospect in his own right. Washington, Troy Fautanu on the left. Roger Rosengarten on the right. Notre Dame, Joe Alt on the left. Blake Fisher on the right. We're seeing a ton of these tandems just come out and be absolutely fantastic. Kaden Wallace is someone that, I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't really do a ton of evaluation. I didn't put a ton into my evaluation of him until about a few weeks ago, where I saw, I was looking at the top 30 list board, and I'm seeing Kaden Wallace's name everywhere on the top 30. But I'm like, wow, a lot of teams got to be interested in him. One of the teams that I saw was super interested in him was the Green Bay Packers. So that was really what piqued my interest, because we know that the Green Bay Packers love to draft their linemen, late day 2, early day 3 for the most part. And Kaden Wallace is a really interesting case. You look at his athletic profile: 6'5", 314 pounds, 34-inch arms, 10 and I think 3/4-inch hands. He's got fantastic physical intangibles for the right tackle position. Hell, he even has fantastic physical intangibles for the left tackle position as well. But first and foremost, he's a right tackle. I think he's going to be a fantastic addition to any team down the board. He could be one of those guys that's just an immediate starter right away. Kind of goes under the radar as that early day 3 pick that somehow finds his way into the starting lineup week 1 and just doesn't relinquish it. So I actually like I like Kaden Wallace's chances, maybe late day 2, early day 3. I love the fit in LA with the Chargers. I also love the fit in LA with the Rams too. There's a couple teams I would love to see, maybe the New York Giants, New York Jets get involved there as well. The Giants, even though they signed Jermaine Illuminor, they're probably going to move Evan Neal inside. This is maybe a long-term project, someone that could take over right away. So I'm not saying that he will start right away, but this is someone that I think with a little bit of fine tuning to his game, I think he's going to be a fantastic player in the NFL someday. Then we go to Ladarius Henderson here. This might be cheating, considered that Henderson kind of played all over at Michigan, but Henderson is a really interesting case. 6'4", 309, so obviously more of the guard build, you would say. He doesn't really have that length that you're looking for or that explosive athleticism to kind of kick out, off the snap from the left or right tackle position. But Henderson's film is really funny because there are some games where you look at the stats and you're like, wow, he gave up 7 or 8 pressures in a game. And then you watch the film, you're like, man, I'm loving what I'm watching. Where are these pressures that this guy is giving up? So the way that I like to categorize Ladarius Henderson is when he's bad, he's awful. And when he's good, he's untouchable. He's unplayable. He's one of the better linemen that you look at in the NFL draft. So I love the total versatility. A team that just screams Ladarius Henderson to me is the Detroit Lions. Probably going to be early day 3, I would say. 4th round, maybe even slides to the 5th round there. We kind of know that they're looking for offensive line depth or maybe even a potential starter right away once Kevin Zeitler, after his 1-year contract is over. But Henderson is someone that I really like. If he could develop a little bit more as a guard, because he did play multiple positions. I believe he also transferred from Minnesota as well. So, this was really the time at Michigan was a more pro style, more, NFL ready attack, if you will. So he exceeded in a lot of aspects, but he was really, really bad sometimes as well. So if he can get that consistency to a more even level there, he's got some crazy intangibles, great strength as well. From the inside, I think he'd be one of the better sleepers on day 3. And then we're popping over to the center position here, and I got Matt Lee from Miami. This is someone that I've been on for quite some time. I remember a couple people getting mad at me in those 7-round team mock drafts that I was doing because I had Matt Lee as like a 4th or 5th round pick, and then they look at the big board and they see he was like the 470th ranked player in the class. What I love about Matt Lee is just his overall explosiveness. So right away you look at his raw numbers. His 40 time was in the 91st percentile. His broad jump was in like the 94th percentile. Someone that generates a lot of explosiveness in his legs. And that's evident on tape too. So the Miami Hurricanes are a team that slide their protection over to the left. So he immediately, out of the snap, he pops up. He immediately, looks to that A gap, trying to get those defenders coming into the gap there as well. So he's someone that, technically speaking, and finesse is fantastic. I think he's one of the better centers in the class from a technique standpoint, but the problem in his game relies really in his power, even though his legs are very strong, and he does show that with his explosiveness on his pop-up. He plays a little bit too tall, and not only that, he's not a interior offensive lineman that's going to reestablish the line of scrimmage. He's going to he's like the definition of bend but not break. He might be giving up pressures, but he's not necessarily giving up sacks. He's got, the pocket's going to collapse a little bit from the inside. You don't really want that in the NFL level. That reminds me of my evaluation of Tyler Biadasz as someone that was constantly in the lap of Dak Prescott after the snap. You don't really want that at the next level. So his anchor needs to develop a little bit more in terms of kind of reestablishing the line of scrimmage. But from a technical standpoint and from, overall finesse, I think he's really, really good. This is someone that's probably, I don't think he would start day 1, but the Detroit Lions, the Pittsburgh Steelers, teams that need that interior offensive line help, specifically from the center position as well. This is someone that I could see sitting, really, really developing and being that guy that just kind of steps up when he needs to, and he's going to be sensational. So maybe more of a ceiling for him in the NFL would be like high quality backup, but I think he could be more. I think he could be a starting center at the NFL level. That's someone that I think is going to be there on day 3, round 5, round 6, that teams are really going to take advantage of. Now, moving over to the defensive side here, we have Jonah Ellis out of Utah. It took me a lot. It took me a long time to get around on Jonah Ellis as a legitimate edge prospect because you look at the size 6'2", 248 pounds, and you're thinking to yourself like, man, this guy's really better suited to be that second level defender. I don't really think he's going to be someone that's going to get the incredible production he was able to put up at Utah at a consistent basis. But one thing that really stands out to me about him is just his overall explosiveness off the line of scrimmage and his bend. His pass rush to the quarterback is just so pristine and precise. That bend is unbelievable. The ankle flexion that he gets. I mean, it looks like he's breaking his ankles half the time. He's got great balance as well. He's someone that I feel like when the offensive tackle kind of gets his hands on him, it's kind of moot. It's null and void at that point where he's going to be blocked out of the play essentially. But he can create pressure from such a wide alignment. Initially, I did a quick evaluation on him and I was like, yeah, he's good, but I think I've seen better. And then you really, really watch him and you see that get off on the line of scrimmage and you're like, wow, if he gets touched, it's going to be tough for him to generate pressure, but man, it's tough for him to get touched with that just combination of precision in his rush. It seems like a pure speed rush from that point, but he does have a little bit of a pass rushing bag as well. I think this is someone that could go as high as round 2. I think the Rams would be interested in someone like this. The Pittsburgh Steelers as well as another team that I mentioned. There's a lot of teams that could be interested in a pass rusher like this on day 2. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And he's got good pedigree too. I believe his father and his brother played in the NFL, or two brothers. I believe Kaden Ellis is... Yeah, I think his two brothers play in the NFL currently. His father played in the NFL. He's got good pedigree as well, and he's a hell of a player, to be honest with you. Okay, Makai Wingo here is a player from the defensive tackle position that, again, kind of came around on him the first wave of evaluations, and I was like, yeah, he's pretty cool. Like, he didn't really have anything that kind of sort of stood out to me on initial evaluation, but one thing that really stood out to me once his raw numbers came about, he's 6 foot, 284 pounds. So you think about it and you're like, wow, that's really small for a defensive tackle, essentially. I mean, Kalijah Cansey last year, wasn't he? I don't remember off the top of my head. Was it 6'2", 6'3", 280 pounds? So something like that. But he plays in an odd front, so he doesn't necessarily have to play purely the defensive tackle position. But Makai Wingo is someone that generates incredible power and incredible explosiveness out of a three-point stance from 284 pounds. He's constantly blowing back, no diddy, he's blowing back the offensive lineman in front of him. And he's able to create, he is a tackle for loss machine. He's able to really, really create, he's destroying running lanes left and right. This is someone that I think in an odd front could really, really do damage at the NFL level. I think right away, the Seattle Seahawks, early round 3, would be extremely interested in someone like Makai Wingo. I was going to say Kaden Ellis. Kaden Ellis. He's not even in this video. His brother is. But Makai Wingo is someone from teams that traditionally play more of odd front. I could see really, really being interested in him because he is a gap exploder. He just goes through there and he automatically causes chaos for the interior of the offensive line. So the protection, any kind of slide, anything like that, the offensive line has to know that he's on the field because he really does generate some quite impressive numbers from 6 foot, 284 pounds. So now we move over to the linebacker position here, and I got Curtis Jacobs out of Penn State. So the linebacking class is leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of really top end availability because once you get past like Edgerrin Cooper, Jeremiah Trotter, Peyton Wilson, guys like that, I feel like there's a real big drop off to the next level. But you got some really, really solid players. Curtis Jacobs is a player that I like a lot out of Penn State. 6'1", 241 pounds, 4.58 speed, which was surprising. I really loved the fact that he was able to run a 4.58. I wanted to see him running the 4.6s. So 4.58 was really, really nice. This is a player that's going to be a really great downhill option in the run game for defenses. He's someone that could sift through blocks pretty well. He actually does a decent job of shedding those blocks as well and locating that ball carrier and hitting him at the point of attack with decent enough pop. So he leaves a little bit to be desired as a blitzer. Same thing as a coverage linebacker. So he's going to be someone that's really going to be a rotational player. Kind of comes in those obvious running downs as well, like maybe those super close, 3rd and 1s and 2nd and 2s, stuff like that, 4th and inches, all that kind of stuff. So he's someone that could be a very, very valuable run stopper. And he's actually not that bad in coverage, but he's not someone that I'm confident in, covering a wheel route out of the backfield on a running back, because his ability to get to the sideline and cover, it just really isn't there, to be honest with you. And I think any average back that has, 4.4 speed is going to be able to pretty much blow by him with ease. So he's someone that's going to come in situations. He's someone that I could see easily in the fifth round, sixth round, making a real impact on some players. So, like I said, I like Curtis Jacobs. I think he's not getting enough love, but this linebacker class, after really the top five, I would say, it really, really does leave a lot to be desired. But he is a good player in his own right, and I think he will be able to make an impact at the NFL level. Qwan'tez Stiggers is the player here from the cornerback class that I think just isn't getting enough love, because we were super quick to hop on after the NFL. He wasn't invited to the NFL Combine. He plays for the Toronto Argonauts. He's never played a down of college football. So we're thinking this is going to be unprecedented. He could potentially be the fourth player in history to be drafted to the NFL that has never played collegiate football. He's got an incredible story. I mean, I can't get into it now because it's super lengthy and it's an emotional roller coaster. But if you have the opportunity to kind of do a little bit of background research on Qwan'tez Stiggers and his incredible journey from being on the brink of playing college football to being the rookie of the year in the Canadian Football League, is something unbelievable. And NFL teams are interested. Let's just get that straight, that 29 out of the, what was it, 28 out of the 30 teams, the 32 teams in the NFL. I was thinking MLB. 28 out of the 32 teams in the NFL were at his pro day, and he put in a fantastic pro day. He has a super high RAS score, 5'11", 205 pounds, so he's got more than enough size and speed to play on the outside as well. And I mean, his highlight package is really, really fun to watch. I got to be honest with you. Besides for the 5 interceptions, really, where I feel like a few of those were kind of gifted to him, he really is a fantastic coverage linebacker, and he's that boomer bust guy that reminds me a lot of Marcus Peters. I could see him getting like 5+ interceptions, but also giving up like 5+ 75-yard touchdowns. So it's got to be, it's got to be a little bit more consistent. But in terms of, I mean, I've seen mock drafts having him in the 6th, 7th round. I mean, I'd be more than willing to put in a 4th or 5th round pick on Qwan'tez Stiggers. I mean, you really can't lie. The tape doesn't lie. You can't really sit there and say that his tape isn't impressive from a professional football league. Now, granted, Canadian Football League obviously is not the NFL. It's probably not even college football for the most part, but a ton of collegiate athletes play in the Canadian Football League. So maybe this is his version of college football. But no, he is a really, really sensational prospect to watch. His story is unbelievable, and I will definitely be looking out for his name. Hopefully early on day 3, it's probably going to be more in that 5th, 6th, maybe even 7th round territory, but I could definitely see a team with a ton of compensatory picks taking a swing on him, and I could see him legitimately being a superstar. I can see, I believe he had a very good meeting. He might have met more than once with the Detroit Lions. So that would be, I mean, can you imagine America's favorite second team in the NFL with one of their favorite coaches in the NFL with a player with a fantastic story? It just seems like it would stack up perfectly to something that, imagine Qwan'tez Stiggers gets drafted to the Detroit Lions and then they win the Super Bowl. Can you imagine that post-game interview? It seems like if the NFL was scripted, that would be like the perfect thing to do right there. And then the final player here in this underrated video is Kitan Oladapo out of Oregon State. Now, I feel like in other drafts, if you were to see a 6'2", 216-pound safety that runs a 4.58 as someone with like a 4th or 5th round grade, you would think, all right, what are we missing here? What crimes did he commit? How bad was he academically in college? What were his, what were his team interviews like? Something like that. Kitan Oladapo is a fantastic football player. Now, the only gripe I have with him is his rough transition from his back pedal into swiveling his hips. He's not great in man coverage. He's decent in zone coverage as well, but this is someone that's going to take on that more modern day money backer role. Like I said, 6'2", 216 pounds. He comes down into the box and hits hard. He's going to be a prototypical box safety. Again, I mentioned the Seattle Seahawks before with Makai Wingo. I could easily see them taking someone like Kitan Oladapo to kind of replace that Jamal Adams role, that guy that's going to come down basically every single time and he's going to stuff the run. He's going to be a great blitzer as well. Athletically, he's awesome. I really do think that he is being slept on. This is a pretty decent safety class, pretty deep safety class for sure. And Kitan Oladapo for me is someone that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Admittedly, even in my top 10 safeties for the 2024 NFL draft video, I believe I had him as an honorable mention. So if I were to go back and redo that video, he'd probably be at like number 8, number 7, something like that. He's a really, really great player. And I wish that he could develop his man coverage a little bit more, but there is a perfect role for him in the NFL. And that's going to be someone that's going to play a sub package linebacker, someone that's going to come down, run downhill and just crash into those gaps and make plays in the backfield. And for me, that's Kitan Oladapo. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is my underrated prospects for every position in the 2024 NFL draft. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And I would love to hear some prospects that aren't getting enough love from you guys. I would really love in the comment section below. Please just tell me who you think from certain positions isn't getting enough love and you think is going to be a great player at the NFL level. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed and I hope I see you in the next one.